On today's Locked On Jayhawks, what went wrong for KU against Illinois, and where do we go from here for the rest of the season?
You are Locked On Jayhawks, your daily podcast on the Kansas Jayhawks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I'm Derek Johnson. You can find me on Twitter at DJohnsonRadio. He's Nick Schwert at Nick_Schwert. And thanks for making Locked On Jayhawks your first listen every day. Thank you to the everydayers catching each and every show. We are free and available anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also find us on our YouTube page where you can like and subscribe to the show. We're going to be talking a little reactions to what this means for the season from the KU-Illinois game, a little UNLV talk. I also want to get into a little KU hoops talk with some Zeke Mayo and Shakeel Moore stuff. And then we'll finish up with whose stat line is it anyway. So KU loses to Illinois over the weekend. We'll get into that in just a moment. This episode is brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Brand new mobile game that's completely free. No ads. It's 100% playable offline. Begin your coaching legacy today. All right, so 23-17 was the final score in that one. And it seems like the big, debate, I guess you could have among KU fans tends to boil down to, are you a positive or a negative type of person? Are you an optimist or a pessimist? There's the side of, well, it's fine. It doesn't count to conference play. And at the end of the day, the only thing that matters for KU making the playoff is winning the conference. But there's the other side of it where it's like, okay, but if you're losing at Illinois, can you realistically be expected to win the Big 12? Where do you kind of lie on what this means for KU's season the rest of the way?
Probably closer to the latter than the former. It's not to take away from that. I mean, it's fact. Win the Big 12, go to the college football playoff. So I know that everything that KU wants to accomplish is still in front of them, but it's impossible to come away from that game and not be a little scared about this offense, about this quarterback, about the new offensive coordinator, and what this team is capable of doing. Because that's kind of where I fall is, yeah, you can still win the conference. It doesn't affect your conference record. But I came away from that game saying, I don't know that this is a conference championship caliber Kansas team. I'm hopeful that it was a one-off and that they're going to be able to come out over the next couple of weeks and really assert themselves and say, yeah, that wasn't us. Like, that's not who we are. We can be a lot better than that. But yeah, I'm a little fearful. I'm a little fearful of what lies ahead based off how they looked up in Champaign.
I think you could make a real argument that, like, you're almost, in a weird way, you did show some things that you could be better off, because if I scope it from like, okay, the running game was still good against Illinois. Yeah, you should have just ran the football more. Like, you were averaging a really good number, well in over 5.5 yards per carry. The offensive line played well against Illinois. It ranks top 30 on Pro Football Focus right now in run blocking and pass blocking grade. You look at the defense. I mean, defense wore down maybe a little bit in the fourth quarter, couldn't come up with some big stops at the end, but like, I thought it was more about just Illinois making good plays on third and longs. And the defense overall played a good enough game to win. If we would have said that's what the defense was going to do coming in, you would have thought KU won the game. Enough so that you hold them to 2.2 yards per carry. It was the least amount of total yards that a KU defense has given up to an FBS opponent, or a Power 5 opponent, I should say, in the Lance Leipold era. You could make the argument that, oh, hey, is the defense better than it was last year? Oh, is the running game just as good as it was last year? Is the offensive line just as good as it was last year? What's the big difference? And if you're saying, okay, it was Jalon Daniels had a bad game and the offensive coordinator had a bad game, albeit the offensive coordinator is different, so that could change. The bigger sample size says that Jalon Daniels is still a good quarterback. Did he just have a bad game, or is this a representation of, maybe some wear and tear from all the injuries, maybe shaking some rust off, or that maybe there was a little bit more about Jalon Daniels and Jason Bean's production credited to Andy Kotelnicki than maybe we wanted to give credit to?
I mean, at the very least, that's the worst game we've seen from Jalon Daniels in 3 years, right?
There was that Iowa State game that people don't ever talk about, because it was the game that KU won, and like the kicker for Iowa State was the talk of the town because he missed a billion field goals. I want to say Jalon Daniels had like under 100 passing yards that game, but yes.
Yeah, it's just the context of, okay, you're finally healthy. Are we going to get a fully healthy Jalon Daniels season? You're preseason ranked. Like, all of these things that are new, all of these things that are exciting for KU fans, and then to come out and lay an egg in week 2, that's what kind of leaves you scratching your head. And you're right. It's basically, I've always joked that when, no matter what team, but specifically in football, when a team loses Monday morning, all anybody wants to talk about is who's the most to blame. Every single conversation around a football loss or a football win, when it just goes like, who deserves the most credit, is always can be simplified into who sucked the most, right? Every conversation, we can package it in a million different ways, but it all comes down to who, but a lot of people sucked, but who sucked the most? There's a lot of people to blame. Who do we put the most blame on? And that's effectively what's happening here with KU. Who do we blame most of this on? Is it because Jeff Grimes is going to be a major downgraded offensive coordinator? Or is it because Jalon Daniels isn't good at football? The answer probably lies somewhere in the middle of you've got this quarterback who has not been healthy for an entire season, his entire career, playing with a new offensive coordinator. And it will be, his third offensive coordinator during his time at Kansas. So I pray that it's not the combination. Because if it's the combination, oh boy, well, now we're in trouble. Now we're in trouble if not only is Jalon Daniels either not healthy or he's rusty or something, but also he's having trouble with this offense. And also this offense isn't very good, because now we're creating a lot of problems that you have to overcome across the course of this season.
Yeah. And I guess when you're looking at this moving forward, it's going to be easy that if Jalon Daniels plays well the next 3 weeks, we're probably just going to look back at this Illinois game and say, oh, it was just an off game. But if it looks bad again this week, all of a sudden it's going to start to be a trend. It's going to start to be, what does this mean kind of moving forward? And so I think when you look at KU taking on UNLV is a good team, a team that I think easily could be ranked in the top 25. I don't know. I think they're going to contend for, the best group of 5 team for making the playoff. Probably Boise State's the odds on favorite there. Texas State's up there. There's some other schools, but they're in the conversation at the very least. I feel like this is the biggest non-conference game of the Lance Leipold era. And I don't know how far back I would have to go into the history to be this is the biggest non-conference game since this. I don't know. There's a lot there you could go to, but I think certainly of the Lance Leipold era, you could make the argument that this is the one. Because if you lose this game, all of a sudden the conversation completely shifts to, can you just make it back to a bowl game and make 3 straight bowl games? And how quickly that would have changed from where you were in the preseason.
Yeah. And it would depend on how they lost too. Not just you lost the game. What if it's a shootout and the offense scores 40 points and Jalon Daniels looks lights out? Then we'll look back on it and say, if only you could have pulled off the win in Champaign. We won't say, oh, this team's broken. We'll say, no, you missed an opportunity and then you lost another game, and that's enough mistakes to derail your season, right? But if Jalon comes out and looks really good, then all of a sudden, maybe some of those nerves are subsided about, okay, fluky, the offense is still going to be fine. Jeff Grimes is going to be fine. Jalon's going to be fine. All of that stuff can still exist, because back to that Illinois game, man, it was just kind of weird. We were so used under Andy Kotelnicki for guys to get schemed open, and Jalon would just make those handful of throws per game. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. He's never really had insanely gaudy stat lines. JD, other than the games the shootout games, going back to the Arkansas game, he's never really had a ton of games where he's just throwing for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, Heisman type numbers, right? He's never really been that guy, but he'll make a handful of plays downfield that you need to win the game. And that was what was weird against Illinois. Those plays weren't there. I think he had the touchdown pass to Luke Grimm, that was the one. But aside from that, there just weren't those magic plays that we've seen. Go back to the Illinois game last year in Lawrence. He had 2 of those, rolling out, evading a pass rusher, and then just putting one on a dime down the field. That may not be there. That may not be a part of this offense where you're going to scheme guys wide open and JD just has to make those plays. It may be more dependent upon him being sort of the guy. And if that's the case, then all of a sudden, the pressure on him, not only to play well, but to stay healthy, ramps up.
The weird part to me is you just go back to the, second quarter against Lindenwood. He uncorked that one to Luke Grimm, 60 yards downfield. So the arm strength showed off right there. I don't think it's
it's definitely not it's not
right?
No, it's not an arm strength thing. It's okay. you had this guy, they called Andy Kotelnicki the mad scientist, right? Because he was always scheming. He was always trying to perfect these plays and get guys into space. Well, what if you don't have that anymore? Now you need a quarterback to make more prototypical quarterback plays where, like, yeah, you got to throw a guy open. Right? Guys aren't going to be wide open, so you've got to put the ball where the receiver can catch it. And he made more mistakes than we're used to him seeing. So it's going to be a product, and this is going to be the question asked all week. And if he plays poorly again, then all of a sudden it could become a theme of the season where is this an offensive issue, or is it the fact that JD can't execute this offense the way he could under Kotelnicki?
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly brings up a good point. Like if you hit, was it LJ Arnold on like the third interception who was actually open, but it was underthrown? Like if you hit that for a touchdown, are we having these conversations about the offense right now? I don't know and what the play calling is. I will say I was looking at like air yards per attempt, which it's only 2 games, so take it with a grain of salt. But like last year, Jalen Daniels, or I guess the KU quarterbacks as a whole, we're averaging close to 10 air yards per attempt. This year, I guess I could have saved this for whose stat line is it anyway. Do you want to guess what it is?
Yeah, I mean, less than that. I would guess it's like 5, 6.
It's 4.5, basically.
Yeah, that's bad.
So
that's really, really
and that's even
bad.
with him throwing those deep balls that got picked, right? So, I mean, you're talking about way too many screens and short throws. It feels like that's the difference to me. Like with Kotelnicki, a lot of intermediate throws, and those were the ones that tended to kind of bust open. So we'll see where it goes from there. All right, let's talk a little KU hoops, a little more KU football, and whose stat line is it anyway? This is Locked On Jayhawks. We are brought to you by Ultimate College Football Head Coach. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of a head coach and lead your college football program to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of the Jayhawks or some other random team? Well, from recruiting players and hiring coaching staffs to overseeing the training camp, handling school scholarships, including calling the offensive plays during the season, you're in control of every crucial detail of your program, all in your hands, that you get to shape the future and the legacy of your program. Ultimate College Football Head Coach is completely free. It has no ads. It's 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want and when you want to. And of course, we have a special offer for Locked On Jayhawk fans. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's all caps, Locked On CFB. Inside the game store, receive a free boost to your program. It'll help you get things kicked off the right way. To download the game, just visit ultimate-cfb.com. That is ultimate-cfb.com, or you can look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. Begin your coaching legacy today. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Sit in the end zone for the KU UNLV game for under $100 over at Children's Mercy Park. That game coming up on Friday night. You can go to next week's Tigers-Royals game for less than $10 on Monday and Wednesday. It's going to be great weather for all these games. Or get dugout seats for a great price next Friday between the Royals and the Giants. They have great features going on Game Time, like Game Time Picks. It's curation that makes it easier for you to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, or whatever event you're looking to attend. And with Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. I love about Game Time, you can see the seat views from the actual apps. You know exactly what you're getting into as opposed to buying blind, especially if it's a stadium you've never been to. Maybe you've never been to a Sporting KC game and you're like, I want to go to the KU UNLV game. Well, you can see what the tickets look like on Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Continuing on, Nick works for Bleacher Report and does some work on the podcasting end. So this is right up your alley in terms of I had an episode last week. You were out of town, but I want to talk more about this with you because I do think it's interesting. Seth Davis had Bill Self on his Bleacher Report podcast, and certainly the most notable quote, there were some other interesting ones that we kind of talked about, but the most notable was him talking about Zeke Mayo. And he said basically, I'm paraphrasing here, he's been the best player. Now, given the context of the question, I wasn't totally sure if like he was just referring to the newcomers, because that was kind of what he was talking about there. But whether he was just talking about the newcomers or everybody as a whole, that certainly is a eye-opening comment. What did you make of that? Like, do you think, we know like coaches will say stuff in the media to motivate certain people? Like, do you think that was a motivation tool to maybe Rylan Griffin? Do you think there was some truth to it? What do you kind of make of what Bill Self said there?
I don't know. Okay, first thing, I'll just go through kind of stream of consciousness here. The first thing it told me is Zeke Mayo is probably not the worst player on the team, right? I don't think he would make that kind of a leap. Do I think that Zeke Mayo is better than AJ Storr and Hunter Dickinson? No, I do not think Zeke Mayo is going to be like first team All-American candidate.
Now keep in mind, I think Storr was playing for like the Bahamian national team over the summer, right? So maybe he was just saying among the ones that are there of the newcomers.
Yeah, it wasn't really clear in his answer. He was asked about the newcomers. He was talking about the freshmen and the transfers. And he listed all the guys off. Like he listed everybody else. But he was giving kind of facts about them. Like not opinions. He was giving like AJ Storr, he can score. Rylan Griffin, he started for the Alabama Final Four team, right? That's not exactly the most glowing endorsement of just saying like he played for Alabama last year. They had a good season. And then he said, who's probably been our best player so far is Zeke Mayo. I would guess that it's probably a little bit of an attaboy. Maybe he had a good couple of weeks in practice. So he's saying like, hey, and I would guess it's also a little motivation specifically for Zeke. Like what I took away from that is, Zeke's having confidence issues, right? I want him to hear me say that he's good. Hey, don't worry about it. You're good. I believe. But
don't you think that's another level to be like, you need some confidence. He's a good player to being he's the best, Yeah,
for sure. But I don't think he had the whole thing scripted. He was just like, okay, let me throw this out there, because Bill does this in press conferences a lot. And I've always joked about that because it's like, do you really think that like whoever, do you think that Johnny Furphy was getting on Jayhawks Slant YouTube page after games last year and watching Bill Self's post-game comments? Like, I don't think any of those guys. No, but
I think they see some of it on Twitter or like,
maybe if
their
they
social
search
media choices, right?
Yeah, maybe if they search their name and stuff like that. So that's what I took away. I took away that, hey, this will get tweeted out or whatever, and he's going to search his name and be like, oh, Bill said I'm one of the best players. Okay, I got this. Because I would guess for a guy that wants it really bad, like, right, local kid, it's your favorite team growing up, you go play at South Dakota State for 4 years. This is a huge adjustment. It's a huge adjustment, and you're probably putting a ton of pressure on yourself to succeed and perform well, because what a storybook ending that would be to your career, right? So that's what I took away. I don't really know like how much of a reach it is. I think it's a reach no matter what, but I don't know, like, is Zeke actually just crushing it in practice, or is he struggling and you're trying to motivate him a little bit regardless? Interesting. And now that makes Zeke, I think, one of the more intriguing guys to watching into the season.
Well, you see it all the time with coaches with like young players, like players who aren't even going to see the field or the court in this case in basketball, where it's like, this guy's killing it in practice. He's doing well. And I've always felt the motivation there is like, okay, you don't want him to transfer because you actually do think he's going to turn into something good. And you want it to be out there that he knows, his family know, who's kind of probably paying attention to that stuff from the outside, that like, hey, he has a future here. But Zeke Mayo's a senior. So like, I think there probably is some sort of truth to it.
But maybe there's a situation where, okay, if we want to start doing the lineup game again, let's say you're not starting two ball. Right.
But then doesn't that make you more pissed off? If I'm Zeke Mayo and I hear that comment and then it's like, hey, you're the seventh man. It's like, what?
Well, no, because you could always say like this. Okay, we're not going to start two guards. If we were going to start two ball handlers, you'd be a starter, but we like the lineup fit better with like two wings out there, like Storr and Rylan Griffin, whatever the case is. But you're right there. You're right there. And if that's the extra edge that a guy needs to keep pushing to say like, no, I'm going to take this guy's spot because I know I'm on his heels, then maybe that's the difference. I would say, to your point though, like these guys are in practice. Like they know. Like Zeke Mayo, or anybody for that matter, if you're just bombing in practice and you suck and you're getting torched on defense and you can't hit a shot and you're getting the ball ripped every time down, there's no way you're going home and be like, I crushed it today. This is my team, So that's why I don't think I don't think he can be struggling that much, because these guys know when they're being lied to. So if he's just sucking in practice and coach is like, he's the best player, I'd sit there and go, Like, are you making fun of me? because I know this isn't true.
I think there's a former KU backup center, and I'll just leave it at that. That might have thought that might have been the case. Real quick, one word answer. Which of these is more concerning? Shakeel Moore's foot injury or Jeff Grimes' quote that Illinois disguised things better than any college defense he's ever been around?
I don't know, man. That's a pretty tough quote. That's a tough quote. Also, the quote that he said that they're not even watching the film. I mean, you lost by 7. It's not like TCU.
The national championship
versus Georgia in the national championship. We're going to burn that tape. There's nothing to learn. I'm like, you lost by a touchdown. You don't think there are a few different decisions or play calls or execution errors that if they went the other way, you could have won the game? I'm thinking, Jeff, there might be some data in that tape that you want to look at, but that's not. I want to go with Jeff Grimes simply because he's racking up bad quotes in quick succession, and it's only week 2, man.
Yeah, I didn't get the one too where it's like, we need to get the ball to Devin and Daniel more in the clutch. It was like, well, the clutch, like, what about the whole game? You know, like
that always bugs me. I think it was whoever was the Bears coach before Matt Eberflus. It doesn't really matter. It was maybe it was Nagy? Maybe it was Nagy when he said that they need to run the ball more. He's like, we just got to find a way. We got to find a way to get David Montgomery more touches. I'm like, you're the coach and the play caller. Yeah. Like, brother, you've got everything at your fingertips to make these dreams a reality. So I always hate that when coaches are like, we've got it. I don't know, man. I don't know what we're going to do, but we've got to find a way to get this guy more touches. I'm like, I got an easy solution for you, pal.
All right. We're going to finish up whose stat line is anyway. A little more KU football. This is Locked On Jayhawks. We are brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and they've got everything you need for this week with college football and NFL. KU was actually a touchdown favorite against UNLV. Do with that what you will. Well, we have something a little different for you in addition to that, though. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. I was loving my YouTube TV this week. You can actually pick what you want in the quad box this year, which makes it even better. Then with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And if that's not enough, FanDuel also has something special for our listeners this weekend. Be sure to check out the many FanDuel profit boosts and bonuses that are going on in the app. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, finishing things up. Well, whose stat line is anyway? I'm going to give Nick a stat. He's going to have to guess it. This one, I'm giving you the names, actually, but I'm going to ask you to rank these things. So I have 5 seasons of KU quarterbacks that are ranked by total QBR, which is the ESPN stat they developed that, weights. If you throw 8 yards on 3rd and 10, that's not actually that valuable, right? Because it's still 4th down. So it weights things like that. And basically it is on a scale of 1 to 100. So I have 2024 Jalon Daniels, which is this year's Jalon Daniels. I have 2020 Jalon Daniels, which is the first year, 17-year-old Jalon Daniels. I have 2021 Jason Bean. So that would have been Jason Bean's first season coming into Kansas as a transfer from North Texas. I have 2018 Peyton Bender. That was the final year of Peyton Bender. And then I have 2011 Jordan Webb to go a little bit further back. How would you rank these 5 by total QBR?
So I'm trying to figure out what game you're playing with me here. And did you give me these just to show that the 2 worst seasons are both Jalon Daniels? Would you have done that? Because I know this year's QBR can't be high, and 2020 would have been a 2-win season, right?
No, that was 0-9. Not great.
I can't imagine his QBR was sky high then. So I'm going to go number 1, Jason Bean. Number 2, Webb. Number 3, Peyton Bender. Number 4, 2020 Jalon. Number 5, 2024 Jalon.
You were really close. So number 1 was Jason Bean. He had a 40.9 in 2021. Number 2 was Peyton Bender. He had a 39.7 in 2018. Number 3 was Jordan Webb. He had a 36.8 in 2011. Number 4 is this year's Jalon Daniels at 35.8, which for what it's worth, that is 14th among the 16 quarterbacks in the Big 12 so far. And then number 5 was that 2020 Jalon at 23.8.
Sick. No, that's awesome, because even the best years like a below average. Isn't 50 the average for QBR?
Yeah, the idea is the number correlates to if the quarterback plays this well, this is how often you should win that game, right? So if you have a 90 QBR, your team wins 90% of the time the way that you're playing, right? So awesome. Not great if it's 30, right?
Yeah, and 14th out of 16th this year for a guy we were
still early.
About Heisman.
Still
I think
early.
the Heisman, can we end the Heisman combo for Jalon? Okay.
I think probably for everyone, if we're being completely honest. But one guy can't get the ball and the other guy just can't stop throwing picks. All right. We'll see if that changes this Friday against UNLV. Nick, what do you got going on right now where you can check out some of your work?
We're going to be putting something up later tonight, or I guess this morning. Check it out. Could be wrong, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as the full episodes on YouTube.
I love that. With it being named Could Be Wrong, you have no idea what day it's coming out. So, like, it could be today.
It could be, yeah. It could be wrong about that.
Whatever,
could have been yesterday. Could be day. You'll just have to figure it out yourself.
All right. He's Nick Schwert. I'm Derek Johnson. You can find this show anywhere you get your podcasts, including on our YouTube page. Give me a follow at D Johnson Radio. And that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Jayhawks. We'll get into more KU UNLV talk throughout the week with LOJ.